on the seventh day, the Lord will not rain down manna. He says, you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will be none. Now it happened that some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather, but they found nothing. And the Lord said to Moses, how long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for the Lord has given you the Sabbath, therefore he gives you on the sixth day bread for 2 days. He gives you bread for 2 days, so that every man remain in his place, and let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. This is where the Jews instituted their seventh day Sabbath rest. Now you may look at that after me reading it and look back up to the screen and say, see, I told you. You told me nothing. Because you have to understand something. Even here in Exodus 16, this is prior to Moses receiving the commandments of God. Moses had not received the Mosaic law. He had not been given the law. The fourth commandment of the first table of God's law had not been received. Moses had not gone up to Mount Moriah yet and received the law. So the seventh day that was observed by the people of Israel, again, was a day that was set aside by them and God, God set up by them, that God hallowed, accepted their worship, shut off manna on the seventh day, told them to gather everything on Friday, and said for no man to go out on the seventh day. But that was before the Mosaic law. And they worshiped and honored God and hallowed it, and God accepted their worship. But the law still had not come yet. So this day, the particular day that they observed was ceremonial. It was ceremonial. Because the law had not come yet. So now, we come to the law of God that God gives to Moses. And the fourth commandment says to remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Remember the day of rest. Remember that. And what is he saying when he says remember? He is referring them back to Exodus 16, verses 22 through 30. He is saying, go back to that. Remember that. God is telling them when he gave Moses the commandments, you remember back when I gave you twice as much on Friday so that you could do nothing on Saturday except render to me worship and set aside a day that distinguishes itself from all the other days of the week, from all the other work days? God is telling man through the law of Moses, much later than this, to go back and remember that. When he says, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy, he's saying, remember that. Remember to keep 1 day in 7 as a day of Sabbath rest unto me, whereby no man should go out and do any work. And that is why they were told to remember, because they were told to reflect back on what they had started when they were receiving the manna and when God shut it off the seventh day and told them to gather twice as much on the sixth day. By the time Moses gives them the law, that God gives Moses the law to give to the people, God still wasn't serving them manna from heaven. That had stopped. But it was never about the day. It was about a day. that they would set as a community of believers, as a theocratic